All right. Hi, Chief Strange. How are you today?
Very good.
Good, good. We're so excited to be here with you. Thank you for taking the time out with us to chat with Rosalind and I. And thank you for being so willing to lend your voice and be a part of this design lab session. So, our goal will be pretty simple today. We're looking to co design what a community engagement kind of plan could look like that feels authentic to West Sacramento. We want something that's grounded in relationships, in your operational realities, in the way that your department is already connecting and engaging with community members, community based organizations, the mayor's office, and other key groups. You and I spoke earlier in October, and we talked a bit about how the Commons dashboard was going for your office. We talked about any goals that you may have had around building awareness and your hope and plan to start introducing the tool more broadly in the WestAC community. We also talked through some of the ways that MFJ that we could support your team's efforts. And so today in this design lab, we're going to pull a little bit further on those threads, and we're going to hopefully help shape what a engagement roadmap tailored to WestSAC could look like. How does that sound?
Sounds good. Really good. In fact, I think it really speaks to not only you all as individuals that I've had the chance to partner with, but really to the mission of MFJ. It's one thing to get the information out there. It's another thing to do what I think we're talking about today, to like penetrate it into the community more broadly, just to really galvanize its value and really use it as a catalyst to driving relationships and understanding.
Right. That's really good. And I kind of want to jump in there.
Mhm.
Um, so if you could, let's kind of start with the root of why you feel like community engagement for your agency matters in the West Sac community.
Yeah, I think for us, we're in an interesting place geographically. So we'll start with that. Um, the reality also is that as much as I think policing is done, it, it's done at its best when it is truly seen as apolitical. We actually don't choose sides. We're out here to serve everyone. But I think sometimes messaging and narratives can get twisted. And I think we have seen that, on the back of misdeeds by the police, there was a broad brush that was painted. And it was a really, really interesting spot for West Sacramento to be in, where we literally can see the state capital of California in the city of Sacramento, different city, different county, different political structure, all of those things different. Um, and where we had experienced a lot of support from our community for a long time, and felt like we were even growing that more. The lack of information that was really available to folks caused, I think, a lot of folks that wanted to support us be a bit apprehensive in the face of a lot of both justified and probably in some cases not justified concerns about the West Sacramento Police Department, policing in general. And for us, just being able to drive connection just gives us a chance to develop relationships. But where folks could point to us and just say, well, you're not really sharing anything with us.
Yeah.
It, it put us in a position in a deficit, right? And I wanted to be able to um, connect that in that way with objective information.
Right.
Something I can't color what it looks like to anyone else.
Right.
It's just the data. But data without some context, data just pushed out for the sake of putting numbers in people's hands can get a little muddy and it's hard to discern sometimes.
Absolutely, absolutely. And what are can you highlight just some of those concerns or misconceptions that you've heard most?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a body of things that I would say I hear still, but then I'll go back into some of the things that I've learned more specifically over the work that we've done in developing our Commons dashboard and really working more directly with our community. But first and foremost, I think even still today, what I hear, I think more commonly than anything, isn't concerns or complaints about things that our staff does. It's in fact perceptions about things that we either don't do, don't care about, aren't in a hurry to get to. It's really about a perception of things that we don't care about and we don't do. And so um, the challenge in that is, in the meantime, and a lot of our um, the members of the community advisory board that worked on the Commons project with us, they understand this is there's not as many cops patrolling the street as people think. There's a misconception about that. And where we're in a city that has plenty of challenges, it's a good city, it's a safe city, but it has police work to do. We're often faced with just dealing with a prioritization scheme that does actually make sense, where we put life safety first, we put in progress property crimes before a lot of other things that end up being considered quality of life issues, quality of life crimes even. And oftentimes those issues feel so ubiquitous to people. They feel so looming and ever present, and they're wondering, where are the police? And so it leaves us in this space where we're really effective at the things that we are able to engage on a regular basis, but those other things that in a prioritization for a police department, they do fall lower on the scale. And so um, that is probably the body of the biggest concerns that I face generally, where I think there's some misconceptions. There's also misconceptions about how the law empowers us to do anything about certain situations. A lot of people feel like the police end up being the answer that they want to see employed in a lot of different ways. And we've definitely diversified our approach to quality of life issues, specifically across how we serve our homeless community and the accountability that still comes with that. It is not a traditional police accountability sort of thing.
Right.
And certainly there's space to improve that even still. But again, we have to do that within the confines of the law. So there's a lot that in that whole body that I just described, where there's a lot of misconceptions, and those misconceptions lead to a level of expectation of what people want to see out of the police department. So um, I say all that, and I'll step back into the experience with the community advisory board in the Commons project, but the body of the community that has these misperceptions currently, there's a lot to learn. There's a lot to unpack. These are not simple issues as much as they may look simple on their face. They are complex.
Yeah.
Um, Now step back into the CAB. So, because I think the CAB members don't necessarily currently have this misconception because they have a different level of understanding. Um, and the overall goal is, man, could I have a community that has their level of understanding? Because I think we would both, and it's not about just, I don't want to hear complaints. No, quite the contrary. We want to know where the issues lie, but a more informed community about what their police can do, does do, focuses on, doesn't focus on, all of those things um, end up meaning that we can get to solutions quicker, easier, collectively, which I think is huge because there are not enough police officers in any community anywhere to be the only answer, nor should they be. So our CAB talked about a few things that I remember sticking with me through the experience. So one was just that idea of how many cops are actually patrolling the street at one time. And so it was really interesting to see the evolution of that understanding take place. Because they too came into the room wondering why we don't care about this thing, why we're so delayed getting to that thing. And so that understanding, it solved a lot initially through the understanding of, okay, this might just be a resource issue, not necessarily cops that don't care. Um, and so that learning, I think, helped in a couple different ways that I didn't anticipate. Certainly, the speed I didn't anticipate of this understanding and sort of how it evolved. One, and I think really important, especially for our staff and police officers everywhere who have been on the street over the last 5 years. I was not one of them. I was in a leadership position, but where they have really tangibly felt disrespected or a lack of support, many different other feelings. Um, our community met this understanding with a different way of looking at our officers, and they gave them so much grace. They immediately went to like a whoa, they've been going through that. They've been working with those few resources.
Right.
And in the face of these things, we had a couple of officers that were advisors in this group, and they walked away going, our community really, really not just supports us, they love us. They want us here.
Yeah.
And that flew in the face of a lot of what the sentiment was with police officers at that time. Not just here, but certainly a lot of places. Again, we had a baseline of pretty good support. Not every place does. So I saw a shift really quickly, just on that understanding. And that went further because that, you know, in some ways culminated as we were looking at policy goals. We looked at and settled on a policy goal about response time. That's really important to folks, especially for those high priority calls of making sure that we don't compromise, we don't step back, even if demands grow. But they wanted to talk about our officers and their staffing and their wellness and how much overtime are they working. We don't want them to be here all the time. We want them to go be with their families, and because they want us to recruit the best and retain the best. And so their understanding led to this level of real personal concern for us
Wow.
that surpassed any expectation I ever had about just building, a platform to build relationships. It went
Wow.
way deeper than that.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things, I think, especially folks in my position or in other city leadership positions, when they're considering putting data out there in the hands of their community, which, I say it that way because just a few years ago, I probably too was a bit fearful of that, because the ongoing fear, and it still happens, is that data gets weaponized, right?
Right.
Why would we share data if people are just going to turn around and point it right back at us?
Mhm.
Well, surprise, surprise, it does still happen,
Mhm.
but largely this community is galvanized around data and it being the start of conversations, not the end. And so anyone can contextualize data points, select data points, and weaponize it. But when you actually dig deeper into data, and when the organizations that are actually doing the work of pushing the data out there to tell people what they are doing, it's automatically sort of drops the guard down. And
Right.
so, and for us, what it has largely revealed is things that we're not surprised at all.
Yeah.
And that is actually a really interesting, my intent was really, okay, how can I leverage those things
Yeah.
in leadership, both politically, but also with our community. But that was sort of the second or third rail. At its core, it was about bringing people to the table, people who probably supported us, wanted to support us. It's not these fringes of folks that will always support us no matter how bad the action was that we took.
Yeah.
It's not the people that will always despise us and not respect the institution of policing, because they never will. It's everyone else in the middle, which is most of us.
Yeah.
There's a lot of folks that understandably they want to support us, but they're questioning.
Yeah.
Just don't have enough information to feel like, yeah, I'm going to raise my hand and say, no, I trust those guys. Uh,
Right.
and
Right.
that's what this has done. It really has. One of the key things that I saw happen, and there was a particular CAB member, long-standing community member,
Mhm.
has been an advocate. I wouldn't say against the police, but not in favor of other formal actions that have taken place. Uh, and I remember when we dove into data around use of force,
Mm.
very, very significant and polarizing issue
Yeah.
across communities. And we dove into that, and quickly, as she started seeing the data and there
Mm,
was collective conversation happening, she was very candid about it. She believed that we like any other police department had a rate of use of force of probably 20-25% of our contacts.
mm,
Those of us that have studied this for a while know the reality to be different than that, but she believed that, and there was a broad acceptance even across the room of, yeah, that sounds about right.
mm.
It's less than 1%. It's less than 1% across the whole nation.
Yeah.
Um, but that is not news that people consume,
Right,
right?
right,
And
right.
so if you're just consuming news, I
Exactly.
that the way that news runs is, it's commercialized. So you gotta run stuff that gets play.
Yeah,
And, social media isn't full of stories about, you know, 0.5% of the time people, cops use force. It looks like we use force all the time. So
right, right.
it was her recognition of
Mm,
the influence of that information and what it had done to change her perspective. And then faced with objective data about what we are doing here, she kind of went back, a step back and went, whoa, people need to know this. Like
mm,
the people in my community need to know this because they don't understand this. And
yeah,
so it's really allowed us, just using that as an example, to have those moments, those little minor epiphanies about what we thought policing was in
mm,
our community versus what it actually is. Some
yeah,
of those surprises are really helpful to us. Others won't be. They won't
yeah,
be in the beginning, but they
right.
will be what drives those, data driven or data prompted discussions
Mhm,
with communities that have learned to trust us because
mhm.
we're open and
Yeah,
because we're reaching out.
yeah,
Uh, and they will help us. It's certainly already having a commons dashboard has helped us
mhm,
in our relationship with the community because we're showing that openness.
right.
But the next step is really about building the community connection because honestly, like it's still the what has always been true will remain. The
Yeah.
police cannot do this on their own. The
Mhm,
most effective folks when it comes to making neighborhoods safe are neighbors. And so
mhm.
we are there to help support them when things get a little bit outside of their scope. But it's connected neighbors, it's informed neighbors. That's really at the core. And so if we can use things like the commons to drive that, to drive the relationship building, to drive coalition, I
Yeah.
I think that will probably be the markers of the safest neighborhoods, the safest communities. It probably already is.
Yeah, that's what you shared was so rich. I have a couple of different thoughts, but I did just want to know, you said something around, the cab, they have an elevated understanding. They were able to be in close proximity with you and your office and your officers and your team. And so it was almost like an educational moment, and also a data literacy moment, one just around the work that you all do, but also them being able to get up close and explore what those numbers mean. And it's, thinking how do you do that in a broader and more scalable way across community members and organizations that may not get that intimate cab experience. Rosalind, did you have any questions?
No, I am the fact that I had the opportunity to kind of witness some of those moments between the cab and some of the agency ambassadors where there's this knowledge sharing, where the community members are sharing their perceptions and what they've always believed about the police department, and then for them to learn about policy and about what use of force actually means, and just looking at the data and seeing the light bulbs go off between the agency ambassadors and the CAB members. It was a enlightening moment because, like you said, if without the information, you're basically going off of um, perception, and what you've always known or heard or what you've seen in the media. And so it is a powerful moment to see that moment where there's this knowledge sharing, but also there's a deeper understanding of what's really happening with the police department.